Bhagini Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hare Om Tat Sat. So we are dealing with the verse number. We are doing the Viveka in the first chapter of Panchadashi, which deals with Tattva Viveka. Viveka is Vivechana, process of analysis. Why do we need to do analysis? And we have discussed this. We are not going to revisit the initial introduction part of it. Because this is the Vedantic Prakriti, we need to analyze. And because Brahman is not visible to the eyes, Brahman is not visible to any sense organs we have or our mind, we need to do analysis to remove any kind of faulty understanding we have about what is the ultimate truth. So, what is referred to in the Western spiritual traditions, the Neoplatonist traditions, as apophatic in theology. There are a few very, very interesting. One of them is Dionysius, I think 7th, 8th century, Christian theologian, was heavily influenced by Greek philosophy. And then these Greek philosophers were kind of influenced by Indian philosophy, what we call Neti Neti. They had similar way of rejecting what God is not to arrive at a very good understanding of what is God. We are completely confused in life, and that's one of the reasons that we want to find a few answers by doing this Vedanta satsang, to get our source, our origin, to sort of figure out what is our swarupa, what is the essential nature that we have. Who are we? We are trying to sort of answer that question. And Vidyaranya Muni in Panchadashi in the first chapter is telling us that one good way to start is to make sense of what is the samsara, how was it created, who are you, and what are different layers of existence within you. Because there are different layers at which you are active. And that particular process of analysis is called Panchakosha Viveka. Kosha is like a seed. So this Atma, this Swarupa of our essential nature, is kind of hidden. Sometimes you must be also experiencing it. When you are having a conversation with any of your friends regarding some colleague of yours or some friend of yours, what do you say? Oh, you haven't worked with him. He's a different character. When there is a big crisis, you will see how he performs. He may be a otherwise very average person, but he behaves in a completely different fashion. Similarly, what we call ourselves, sometimes it identifies with the body, sometimes it identifies with all kinds of sense organs, and through the sense organs, we identify with the external things. Sometimes we identify with our activities. I'm a player, I'm doing these, I'm sleeping, I'm running. Sometimes we identify with all kinds of other thoughts. And then sometimes with our vicharas or our analytical mind, our deliberations, our decisions, different kind of decisions that we take. We try to see ourselves as makers of those decisions. And then sometimes we understand that we are beyond these 4 layers of who we are otherwise than who we are. That is the Anandamaya Kosha. We'll go there today. We have done what it means to talk about the Annamaya Kosha. We have already analyzed what it means to use the word Manomaya, Pranamaya Kosha, and what it means to use the word Manomaya Kosha, and what it means to use the word Vijnanamaya Kosha. So he mentions Satvikair Dhi Indriyehi Shakam Vimarshatma Manomayaha. The manas, the mind, Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. This mind is created out of the Sattvika Angsha. Yeah? Of these, and this Panchabhuta, are there. And dhi indriyehi sakam. All these jnanendriyas, it's called vimarshatma manomayaha. Mind plus these 5 jnanendriyas. And these jnanendriyas are born out of the sattvic angsha of the mahabhutas, the sukshma bhutas. We have discussed that already. We'll revisit it in a moment. Teir eva sakam vijnanamayo dhira nishayatmika. Same 5 indriyas are there. Then replace the word manas with buddhi. Then it's called vijnanamaya kosha. It's the deliberative, analytical aspect of your consciousness. Nishayatmika buddhi. It's called vijnanamaya kosha. So there's a bit of interesting analysis of it. So I'm sort of looking at another commentary. I'm not going to sort of trouble you with this. Okay. So you already have sort of understood up till now the 4 koshas: Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Now we are into the Anandamaya kosha. So when we're looking at the Anandamaya kosha, that is the verse number 36. Karane sattvamananda mayo modadi vrittibhi tat kosaistu tadyatmat atma tat tanmayo bhaved. Karane sattvam anandamayo modadi vrittibhi. What is the karana sarira? In Tattva Bodha we had a discussion on it. I'm going to repeat it. So you have the sthula sarira, the physical seeds, which is physically available to the eyes and the jnanendriyas. Like, for example, what is your body temperature? What is your height? How many bones you have? How many bones are in right place? Do you have any physical deformities? They do a physical checkup before you join the army or any job for that matter. They do a complete body checkup of the Annamaya kosha. That's all about the Annamaya kosha. Sometimes they look at how are you breathing, whether you have a problem with arrhythmia or whether you have any problem to deal with your lungs. No, they do. What are they trying to study? The pranamaya kosha. The panchavayus, how they function. Sometimes they look at how you have, if at all, any problems of anxiety or depression or some kind of loneliness or uncertainty in your mind regarding your daughter who is studying at a foreign university too far away from you, whether she is doing well, whether she is good right now. These are the anxieties you may have. It's all about your manomaya kosha. Sometimes you might feel very depressed and then you go and knock at the door of a counselor and he charges you some money and then he talks to you. He sometimes asks you to fill some kind of a format. There are a lot of questionnaires. He wants to judge where exactly is some problem. That is the most difficult part of any kind of a psychological counseling. There is some behavior, but there is something which is troublesome somewhere. You don't know it, no one knows it, but you behave in a certain way. You have a certain thought process. There's some kind of a problem. So you go to an expert. What is he doing with? He's dealing with, or he's trying to help you sort out any issues you have and the manomaya kosha. And then you have some cognitive issues. You're doing some research or trying to analyze yourself. Or you go to a spiritual counselor. He's trying to guide you or analyze yourself. That's at a higher level. That's the vijnanamaya kosha. Whenever you are trying to do any analysis or you are trying to know anything, these are happening at 2 different levels. Yeah. One level of this analysis is at the that is at the level of your external responses and how do you respond to something. They use these responses as proxies for reaching out to certain inner realms of your mind, the subconscious, for example. Experts, and there are a lot of methodologies in their psychological analysis. Whenever we are trying to know anything, if you have thought about it, there are two aspects. One is that right now we are discussing Panchadashi, right? So this is Nishchaya. Nishchayatmika buddhi. You want to deliberate, right? You want to have Nishchaya, a certain aspects to it. That we shall be ascertain is called Nishchaya. You want to deliberate and find out what it is. That is the subject matter of your research and contemplation. आप ये जानना चाहते हैं क्यों हो रहा है? What is this all about? No, you want to know. You are trying to solve a problem. There is another aspect to this process. You think about it. That aspect is who is doing this, right? So there is one aspect is Nishchaya, and then there is a person who is trying to ascertain it. That is the Karta, the one who is trying to ascertain it. So I am analyzing this problem, this self-awareness aspect. Think about it. When you are meditating on that, then you are very much working at the Vijnanamaya Kosha level. So many of these spiritual counselors, especially in Advaita Vedanta, if you are looking at what are the causes which most of your spiritual work happens, your self-help books you read, right? A lot of self-help books. We studied that at our school level or college level. How to, the conquest of worry, or how to seek happiness in life, how to get difficult people, how to handle a difficult conversation. There's so many management self-help guides, how to communicate, how to deal with a toxic person, how to stop procrastinating, how to manage your time. These are the issues. And on all of these, there would be some tools to figure out where you are and how can you improve yourself with regard to these problems. That's the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So much of spiritual sadhana, in fact, happens during the waking state. And at the Vijnanamaya Kosha, Vedantic analysis, what are we doing right now? We're talking about the self. We are trying to analyze ourselves. And it's happening at the Vijnanamaya Kosha level. Because in the Anandamaya Kosha age, we would see that happens in the Karana Sharira, where there is no Karta, no Bhakta, the Manas is not there, the mind is not there, the emotional mind, the rational mind, the physical body, no, it's there, but you don't feel it. Or the Pranamaya Kosha, of course, you continue to breathe, but there is no, that Ahankaratmika Vritti is kind of absent in deep sleep. Only when we wake up do we remember that we were spending some time in a state of not knowing anything. And we have already discussed it. That particular thing is not abhava, jnana bhava. That ajnana that you experience during deep sleep is not jnana abhava, absence of knowledge. No. That is some kind of jnana. If that is not some kind of anubhava, on what basis do we say when we wake up that we had a wonderful sleep, we didn't know anything? We didn't know anything, remember, where you're talking about what is the object of your knowledge, it's abhavaatmaka. You didn't know anything. But turn the attention to yourself. There is a knower that he couldn't know anything, like Socrates. Why is he called the wisest? His speech, the speech of Socrates, so wonderful. If you can read it, otherwise you can search for it on the YouTube audiobooks. It's one of the finest writings of Plato. So you can just have a look at it. Kindly mute yourself, all of you. Mute yourself, Prakash. Okay, we are muted. Prakash, kindly keep muted, yourself muted. Sometimes it gets unmuted. So, so what I was trying to say is that when we are, there is a self aspect. So in the deep sleep, the mind is not there, the intellect isn't there, they're all asleep. Fine. But there must be somebody who experienced something by virtue of which, when we wake up, we are able to say that we had a wonderful sleep. We didn't know anything. That is the Anandamaya Kosha, and that is the Karana Sarira, at least this is happening. The Sukshma Sarira is not there, the Sthula Sarira is not there, the dynamic self isn't there, but there is something that's called the Sakshi. And how do you know that you didn't know anything? Through avidya vritti. That is what Vedanta explains it. Okay. So there are two aspects to it. One is that we're going to turn our attention from the object of our knowledge to the knower. Then we will be able to unravel the secret in the Panchakosha Viveka. Shift your attention away from all that you are touching and feeling and you're trying to experience to the one who experienced it, and what are the changes that are happening, why he thinks I'm fat, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm intelligent, and why he says I don't know anything. Because he is trying to identify at different layers of existence and he has different identities. That is how Vedanta says these are upadhis. They are like branding, kind of labels, which are put on our pure consciousness, and therefore we become a sthula sariravan, we become sansayavan atma. You have a lot of doubts, or you have a lot of anxieties. I'm depressed, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm intelligent, I'm very analytical, and finally I didn't know anything about it. That is the karana. So start meditating on this particular shloka. The shloka number is 36. Karani sattva maya moda divrittivi tattat koseistu tadyatma atma tattanamayo bhavet karani karana sarire sattvam anandamaya. You see, you have that avidya, which is malina sattva samparna, isn't it? That you have malina sattva is an upadhi, as the label. That is a defining feature. Upadhi is some kind of a defining feature with which you get characterized, you get branded. If you Suddha Sattva Samparna, that becomes Ishvara. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's happening again. No, not an issue. So, so the whole idea is that you have upadhis, or the categorizations of the self. Okay, and because you have the categorization of the self that is happening so that categorization of the self is happening again and again, and at different levels. These are called upadhis, or branding, or different kind of labels, right? And then he's saying, if you look at this sloka, karani, karana sarire, sattvam anandamaya. And how does that happen? Modadi vrittivihi. Now, what is this moda? It is priya moda amoda. A little baby wakes up from sleep, and mom shows this baby. Just imagine, you must have seen so many YouTube videos when children have wonderful responses. Hilarious. So you saw something red or attractive, the baby is very happy, super happy. And then you give this to the child, even more happy. And then finally, the baby realizes that particular thing has been given to it. You have prapti or upabhoga. It's super, super happy. These are three levels. One is you see it, second, you own it, and third, you experience it. One of the best videos, that many of these very sweet videos, is when the parents gift the child a puppy, isn't it? At first, the child says, "What is it?" It's super happy, opens it, and finds, "Oh my God, it's a puppy for me." And then the puppy breaks down and cries and thanks the parents, the best gift they have given this little girl on her birthday. Priya Moda Amoda. That's why he's saying Modadi Vrittivihi. Why are we saying that to be the Anandamaya Kosha? Because there is complete dukha bhava. There's no tension in that. In deep sleep. So when a person is very depressed, or you have a lot of anxiety, you have some stress disorder, you go to a counselor, you go to a doctor or a physician. You cannot have that. You don't have that luxury of long counseling sessions. Why? Because you have to attend a meeting or a marriage party or something. You're feeling depressed. After 3 days is your daughter's marriage. How do you handle that situation? You know you have your depression problem, but then there is daughter's marriage. You go to the doctor. He gives you some pills. One of the pills will have something to do with giving you the ability to have a very deep, good sleep. The mind heals itself in deep sleep. Anandamaya. Because these are, remember, because that is the Karana Sarira is the cause of both Sthula Sharira and Shukshma Sarira. That is the causal form, out of which the both Linga Sarira and the Sthula Sharira both emerge. Linga Sarira is the Shukshma Sarira. Right? So the Annamaya Kosha also sort of the Karana Sarira is a weakness. That's the causal base out of which all these. So these ability to experience happiness is there during dream state. That's why sometimes in the dream we are happy, isn't it? We see a lovely dream. You remember that you have returned to your childhood and all of you are having a happy game on a holiday in a wonderful garden or a park with so many children. You are playing. No anxiety, no responsibilities, nothing. Imagine the gay abandon that you experienced as a 7-year-old on a Sunday with your friends. You're experiencing it. Similar in Jagrata Avastha, somebody gives you a piece of good news about yourself, about your children, about your relatives, your friends. Get some good news. Or you're watching a match and your favorite team is winning. Your favorite player is scoring a goal. You're super excited. So this Karana Sarira, Anandamaya Kosha, is very much evidently present in the Swapnavastha and also in the Jagrata Avastha. These are not there. We will have a discussion on that. So Sattvam Anandamaya Modadi Vrittivihi. These are the vikaras of the Anandamaya Kosha. These are the vrittis, vikaras. Tat koseihi tu tadatmyat atma tat tanamayo bhavet. Now the question that you will have is that if it is Anandamaya, really, then why does he have contrary things about itself to say? It sometimes feels depressed, sometimes feels happy, sometimes not so happy, sometimes stressed. He's saying, look, because when we were in kindergarten, the lovely thing will be that if you changed your school, your school days, because all of us do sort of fondly remember our school days or childhood. So you are in a school or you are in a particular club. Schools are divided in clubs during sports competitions. So you're part of a certain club, the blue shirts or green shirts or whatever. And you're part of that team. So you are in section C. So there's a football match. Your rivals are section B or section A. So you change subjects. You had biology major, so they had put you in section B, but suddenly you changed your mind and your dad says, no, you have to study computer science. So you decided to have maths major. They shift you to section A because you're going to be in the team which are going to prepare for entry into computer sciences. So you get into the maths team. It has a repercussion for which team you would be a part of during the sports competition. So your rivals, who were your earlier rivals, and suddenly they become your friends. And the ones who are your friends are now your rivals. You're playing that game. How do you understand it? You have that tadatmya adhyasa. It's only a game of identification. So you are so emotionally charged playing as part of section B only 6 months back. This winter, next winter, you are part of section A, and therefore you are playing with the same team of which you are a part. You are against it. That is Tadatma Adhyas, and that's what is explained. Tat tat koseihi tu tadatmyat atma tat tanamayo bhaved. That Atma, which will be on all days, it becomes Annamaya, it becomes Pranamaya, it becomes Manomaya, it becomes Vijnanamaya, etc., etc. Okay. Now let's go to the commentary, and then this has a different structure at the Taittiriya Upanishad. Karane Karana Sarira Bhutayam Avidyayam. During the deep sleep, you have the Avidya. Avidya in that state. Avidyayam yat malina sattvam asti tan modadi vrittivihi priya moda pramodakhehi. You have three levels of this experience of happiness. One is priya, you see it. Priya moda pramodakhehi, and then he explains Ishta darsana labha bhogajanyehi. First you see it, Ishta darshana, you love that person. Then you see that person. You're very happy. You have met one of your best friends who is also a distant cousin of yours, and you're, Buddhist since your childhood. Very happy. Then lava. Then actually you know that no, you just don't see him, but he has actually come to visit you to give you an invitation for daughter's marriage or son's marriage or something. Bhogajanyehi, then you are part of the party. Okay. So you have Priya, Moda, Pramadakyehi, these are the names. Sukha Visesehi, there are special ways in your experiencing some happiness, or you call it some comfort, your pleasure, or good feeling, whatever you call it. So he's saying, Sahitam, Sahitam Anandamayaha. There is a bit of printing error. It looks like no, it's ma. Sahitam Anandamayaha. Anandamayaksha Syad iti. So that will become Anandamaya kosha. But we are talking about the deep sleep state. No. Sthula Sariradi Annamayadi Sabdavachya. Sava Esha Purusha Annarasamayaha. Taittiriya Upanishad 2:1:1 iti upaka. Tasmadava etasmad annarasamayad anyo antara atma pranamayaha anyo antara atma manomayaha ityadi sutatvad atmanah annamayadi savdavacyatvam katham uchyate iti asankhya dehadinam annadi vikarattvena annamayadi savdavacyatvam atmanastu tena koshena Tadatmya abhimana ityaha tattaditi. Now let me explain it. We have to go there to be able to make sense of it. So there is a bit of discussion there, okay, in the Taittiriya Upanishad. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the verse number, very quickly, when you go in the Prathama Anuvaka, so he's saying, Brahmavid apnoti param Tad Isa Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyomana. So Sarvana Kaman Saha Brahmana Vipastiti Tasmad Va Etasmad Atmanaha Akasa Sambhutaha Akasad Vayuhu Vayur Agnihi Agnir Apaha Advyaha Prithivi Prithivya Upsadeyaha. So I'm just reading from that Upanishad. Okay. And when you go to the Brahmananda Valli and you go to the Ditya Anuvaka, he first explains how the Sthula Bhutas are created from that Param Brahma. First Akasha, and we have discussed this in Tattva Viveka. And then from Akasha comes Vayu, from Vayu comes Teja or Agni, from Agni comes Jala, and Advyaha Prithivi, from that Prithivi comes. And from Prithivi, Ausadhayas come. And from Ausadhayas, you have Ausadhayas, all these different crops, and then out of which you have rice and you have food grains and you eat, then you have life. He is saying, Annahi bhutanam yeshtam tasma sarvisam ausadamuchyate tasma sarvausadhamuchyate annad bhutani jayante jatani annena vardhanti They anna ho to, somebody can be born, somebody sort of gets something to eat, and then he grows up. Adyate atticha bhutani tasmad annam tad uchyate iti tasmad va etasmad anna rasamayat anno antara atma pranamaya. So you have first annamaya sharira, right? There is something subtler than that. That is the pranamaya. Why? You have a body. Pranamaya goes away, right? You can't breathe. There's some breathing problem. Oh, we die. Maybe we have a beautiful body. What happens to it? They burn it, they cremate it, or they bury it. It becomes useless. Annamaya kosha, there has to be something superior which holds it, which is the pranavaya, the ability to breathe, to be alive. And then beyond that, a person has pranavayu, but he has gone mad. He's extremely depressed. He's going to move around. His life is as good as completely meaningless. Maybe he has a wonderful emotional mind and everything, but he cannot decide what's right, what's wrong. Then he's stuck there. So Vijnanamaya is further subtler than that. So he's saying that starting with the Annamaya Kosha, finally you are going towards the Anandamaya Kosha in this particular Brahmananda Balli of the Taittiriya Upanishad. Therefore, he's saying, why do you then refer to one particular kosha as Annamaya Kosha? Why are you saying that this particular person is the Annarasamayaha, or you say Manomayaha, or is Vijnanamaya Purusha? Why do you say that? That is the question. And that is being answered nicely. He's saying that this particular thing, in order to understand that, because of identification with these particular seats or koshas, we behave like that. That is what he's saying. Nanu sthula sariradinam anna mayadi sabda vachyatve sa eva esha purusho anna rasamayaha. Why do you have to say this? You're using it because of the physical seat. Iti upakrami, wahan se shuru karke, starting there. Tasmad va etasmad anna rasamayat, starting with sthula sarira, and from there is something even superior, atma pranamaya. Okay, so you have 2 1 1, then you're going to 2 2 1. Anyo andar atma manomayaha, so 2 3 1. Okay, ityadi sutatvad atmanaha annamayadi sabdavachyatvam kathamuchyate. Why are you saying it's annamaya when you are going next sloka or something else? Shrutis can never be contradictory. Any element of equivocalism there, nothing. It's very clear. There can be no internal contradiction in the Upanishads. So there are some apparent contradictions. So you have to solve it for us. Like children ask their mothers, Mama, yesterday you had said this and today you are saying this. And the mother is under heavy pressure to explain this little wonderful and curious mind. Because children are very sharp. They ask you very uncomfortable questions. Same way here, the Purva, the student is asking this question and he is being answered. Please understand, my boy, it's because of the identification of the Atma with these koshas that these words are used. These are the avantara bhedas. So you are in class 5th, you are a school student. Then you are going to undergrad, you are a college student, then you go to the university, then you are doing postdoctoral. The names are changing. You are the same person, but the name is changing. Same way we can make sense of why these are being saying that they become tat tanamayo bhavet, that Atma becomes all, even though it's beyond all this. Okay. Atma means what? Is it the Paramatma? No, Pratyagatma. What is the difference between the Paramatma and Pratyagatma? That we will discuss. All of this is part of Panchadashi. All these sharp questions. But briefly what it is, that we are individual units. And Pratyak Parak, Parak is what is distant, Pratyak is what is nearest, which is intimate to you. So that grand consciousness, understood within the limitation of your body and mind, is your Pratyagatma. But remember, it's not it is kind of trapped in it, but it's everywhere. Like, for example, the space inside my body is the grand space, the whole cosmos. And yet, we say this is the space occupied by my body, in that sense, if you want to make sense of it. So that Pratyagatma, and he's saying what? Pratyagatma tattat kosehi tena tena koshena saha. It identifies with these seeds. Tadatmyat. Because of this tadatmya adhyasa. Your son doesn't do well in examination, the parents have a big problem. The parents are throwing a party because the son cleared the IITs or cleared the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. She or he got a C. There's celebration at home. It's like the father has cleared the test, right? Or if the child doesn't clear the test, there's depression in the house. The parents have failed in the examination. That is what is tadatmya adhyasa. Tadatmya abhimanat. That is essential an abhimana. Forceful identification of something. Tatmayaha, tattat koshamayaha syat. Vishya annamaya or pranamaya or manomaya or vijnanamaya, etc. Vyavahara kale annamaya kosha pradhanyat. You are studying, you are playing, you are walking around. That is vyavahara kala. It's not the moment of your meditation. It's not the moment of your samadhi. You are doing vyavahara kala. When you are engaging with the phenomenal reality, vyavahara kala, then what happens? Annamayadi kosha pradhanyat. Annamayadi, he has adi. Why? Because the pranamaya kosha, the manomaya kosha, the jnanamaya kosha, they are all active, except during when you are in deep meditation or you are in deep sleep. Annamayadi sabdavachya iti artha. That is why these are called annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, and jnanamaya kosha. Tu sabda sa atmanah kosebhyah vailakshyanad yotanartha. Vailakshanya yotanartha. Tu, why are you saying this word tu, kintu? What is the purpose? Because the Atma is actually completely different from all these courses. You continue to be there without any addition of you're a student of this college, you're a student of this particular degree course or anything. No, you're going to go beyond that. Even beyond all your jobs you're doing, everything that you're doing, you're going to go beyond this. Okay, this is how we have finished the verse number now I just want to share something. I'll change the screen because before we go to the 37, it is important for us to sort of have a close look at this. So I'll be withdrawing this for a second. I'll be sharing something else. Some other, what is that? Vedanta Panchadashi. Okay. So this is another text. Okay. Let me go back. Which sloka is this? Yeah. So this is in the Wiki Shores. You can also, sort of access it. I'm saying that you just have to look at the right side. Yeah. So you have to look at this aspect. I'll be taking the cursor for making it easy for you. You look at this aspect. So this is another commentary called Kalyana Piyusha Vakya. Have Suddha Sattva Maya, it is Ishwaropadhi. It is the Upadhi of Ishwara. Okay? Suddha Sattva Maya. Why Akara? Because Suddha Sattva Maya is Ishwara Upadhi. And then what are we? So Param Brahma Pratibimbita Prakriti. So there will be Suddha Sattva Avidya. See, Maya becomes Avidya when it comes to Jiva. Okay? So at the end of it, you have Karana Sariraha Jivavadi Anandamaya Kosha. So you see, we are going down from cause to effect, and you just have to pay. This perhaps I'll try to show this particular image, and if you can actually keep it with you, you can have a very good grasp of all this Panchakosha Viveka. That's why I'm sharing this. So Karana Sariraha Jivavadi Anandamaya Kosha Tama Pradhana. Okay, and then this is Tama Pradhana. That is what is the predominance of that ajnana. That means not knowing what. It doesn't know anything. There's no connection. The mind is absent. The intellect is absent. Everything is absent. And yet it's in a state of perfect bliss because there is no interference. There's no disturbance, nothing. Now, you're looking at all the creations which are there here. The whole Karana Sarira. So Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and a Prithvi. Now remember, all these are not emanating from the God. Of course, He is the creator, and therefore these vikaras or modifications are happening at the individual level, micro level, all of us, Vyasti Sharira. So you have Akasha, out of which you have Sattva and Rajas. From the Sattvangsha of the Sukshma Bhuta Akasa Mahabhuta, what do you have? This Jnanendriya, Sotrendriya. From the Rajasic aspect, what you create? You have Vakindriya, Vagendriya, the ability to speak. Remember, both have something to do with Akasa Tattva, both have something to do with sound. Speak, you're producing sound. Ability to receive sound is your Sotrendriya. Done? And then a Vayu. From Sattvangsha, you have what? Tvaka. You feel movement of air. You sit next to an air conditioner, so it hits you. You feel it. Or you sit next to, blower or something, hot blower, extreme winter, then you feel the heat. And the Rajasika Angsha, you have Pani, legs, you're moving. Okay? Hands. And then Agni Tattva, from Vayu comes Agni. Akasad Vayuhu, Vayu or Agni. From Vayu comes Agni. And Sattvangsha, Shakyuhu, ability to see. And from Rajasya Angsha, you have Pada. The fire moves. And if you ask any North American, you also had it in Australia. These wildfires, they travel very fast. So therefore, the Karmendriya, Pada, your feet are compared to have come out of that. Jala, from fire comes water, and from water the Sattvangsha is Jiva, Rasani Indriya, to taste, and Rasa is Payu. Okay? Payu, because you sort of flush out your stool and urine, everything, Karmendriya. And then Prithvi Tattva, Sattva, Grana, the ability to smell. And the Rajasic, you have Upasta. Upasta is what? The Janani Indriya. Why is it so? Because that idea that it creates, right? Reta. So Sukra, you create. So therefore, that Prithvi Tattva. Now, this is the individual level. What is the Samasti level? You have, remember, all 5 Pancha Mahabhutas are taken together, and out of the Rajasic aspects of these, you have the Pancha Pranas, Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, and Asamana. We have discussed Pancha Pranas. From the Samasti Rajas, okay, all Samasti means here, all 5 Panchabhutas are taken together, and then you look at because everything is Trigunatmika, right? Because it's all produced out of Maya or Avidya. It's Trigunatmika. So from the Rajasic aspect of all of it, you have these Pancha Pranas. And what about the Sattvic aspect? Again, you will take Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and a Prithvi Tattva, and then you look at the Sattvic aspect of it. Then you have Buddhis and Manas. The Buddhi and Manas are looking at the Vrittis as the mode of the Vikara. Nishyatmika Buddhi, Sankalpa, Vikalpatmakam, Manaha. That is what it explains. So you have this oscillating mind all the time, dangling, swinging between different things, connecting with different things. That is the mind, jumping around mind. Then Nishyatmika Buddhi, the emotional mind, and you have the cognitive self. Okay? So you have both Sattvangsha. And then look at how we have these koshas. So you have the Vijnanamaya kosha connected with what? Buddhi. So 5 Jnanendriyas. Okay? So you have 5 Jnanendriyas. And then you connect that Vijnanamaya. And Manomaya, again, 5 Jnanendriyas plus Manas. That is the Manamaya kosha. Then you have the Pancha Pranas and a Pancha Karmendriyas. That is the Pranamaya kosha. Okay? And all these above, they are called the Sukshma Sarira. Okay? And then when it is the collective, it's called Samasti Rupa Hiranyagarbha. We discussed that. And Vyasti Rupa Taijasaha. Taijasa is all individual. That's why it's Bahuvachan. It's called Taijasa when we are in dream state. And then we wake up, it's called Vishwaha, or called Vishwa. So, therefore, that is the Annamaya Kosha, the waking state. Okay? Now we will come back. We have had a very good discussion, and we need not waste for the time. So we'll get rid of this page and I will reshare our text that we're doing. Okay, so I hope you can see that. We have come back to our 36. Now this question comes in the minds of the student who is asking, Katham tari evam vidasya atmanaha brahmatvam bhavati iti asankhya koshebhyaha vivechanat bhavati ityaha. So the student's father has been summoned by the principal, and the principal says, do you know what? Your friend has 5 friends. One friend takes him to participate in swimming and a lot of physical exercises and games and invests a lot of time. And then, so there is, he goes for food and this and that. And then there is another guy who sort of propels him into a lot of physical exercises. There is one with whom he is into poetry and imagination, all sorts of hobbies. And there's one with whom he spends a bit of time with, but he is not able to meditate, is not able to know who he is. The father asks, so how can I do that? He says, when he is able to dissociate himself from these 5 friends, and last one is the one who believes that he should sleep and relax. If you can help him dissociate from these 5 buddies, then he can get back to his own self. Similarly, the idea here is saying, Katham tari evam vidhasya atmanaha, because this atma becomes tanmaya, identifying with this pancha koshas. Then how this atma can be atma itself? It will be always identifying with any of these koshas. How can it tattvamasi, aham brahmasmi, you are that? How can you say this? How is it going to be possible? It's always identifying with one of his friends, one of the koshas. Bhavati koshebhya vivechanat. When you are able to distinguish the atma as different, pancho koshatitaha avastatraya sakshi, when you are able to dissociate, analytically hold it as distinct and beyond these pancho koshas, physically you cannot do it. Physically you can do it if atma had a physical form. It doesn't have a physical form. Is that qualities? No, it has no qualities. So you have to do vivechana, you have to do analysis. Kosebhya vivechanad bhavati. The brahmatvam of the atma, the pratyak chaitanya, all of us are here to get that brahmatva, right? And we can get our brahmatva only through proper analysis of who we are. That's all this Shastra is saying. So let's look at this verse. It's a beautiful thing. Anvaya veti rekabhyam panchakosha vivekataha swatmanam tata udhritya param brahma prapadyate. Anvaya veti rekabhyam. Now you see, generally in the Nyaya Shastra, in Vedanta also, Anvaya Vyatireka is used to mean 2 different things. So if you say Anvaya Vyatireka, generally it means that if you use it like this, same Kalyana Piyusa Vakya, he's saying Anya Vyatireka Abhyam Asmin Prakarani Anvaya Savadena Anavritihi Vyatireka Savadena Vyavritischa Avidhiyate Natu Yat Sattve Yat Sattvam Yad Asattve Yad Asattvam Iti Lakshana Lakshita. So Mritika Sattve Ghada Sattvam. If you have clay, you can have a pot, because this is a pot, a clay jar made out of clay. So if you don't have clay, how can you have a pot? Can you have a pot where there is no clay? Can you have a golden necklace without gold? No, that's not possible. So tat sattve, tat sattvam. Tadabhave, tadasattvam. Gold is not there. You cannot. You go to a shop and say that I want a necklace. He says, yeah, it's very costly, right? Right now in Indian currency, it's about 100,000, 1 lakh rupees. He says, okay, so you want this particular necklace? necklace, 3 lakh rupees. You say, no, I don't need the gold, sir. Can you just give me the necklace? He says, sorry, get out of this place. Who are you? Why are you trying to waste my time? There can be no necklace without the gold. So if there's gold, you can talk about a necklace. And with no gold, there's no necklace. So this is the kind of Anvaya Vyatireka. That means if Brahman is there, everything is there. Brahman is the cause of everything. So you cannot have a Brahman, you cannot have a samsara without his cause. A lot of analysis. Brahman is beyond cause and effect also would be said at a later stage of the discussion. Right now, that is the Anvaya Vyatireka in logical analysis in Indian philosophical or knowledge tradition. However, in this particular shloka, Anvaya Vyatireka is not being used like that. A leads to B. Non-A leads to non-B. If A is there, B will be there. A is not there, B shall not be there. That means there is no other variable which can make B possible. Rita is there, her sister Gita will be there. Rita is not there, Gita shall not be there. Gita will not be there with us. That is the Niyata Sahacharya. They all the time will be there together. That is the Anvaya Vyatireka. If you remove one, the other one is not there. This is the causal part, the other one is the effect part. The effect cannot exist without the cause. Now he is saying, Asmin Prakani Anvaya Savadena. When you are using the word Anvaya, Anavritti, that means it pervades. In that sense, we will see what it means. And Vyatireka Savadena Vyavritischa Avidiyate. Vyatireka means Vyavriti, when it is not there. A little similar, right? But it's different. I'll tell you how. Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Sutre Manigana Iva. So you see, when you have a necklace, a pearl necklace, imagine. Pearl necklace made of 108 pearls. You want to gift it to your daughter. You look at that thread which holds that whole set of pearls. You have pearl A, and you have pearl B, and you have pearl C. Where there is C, A is not there. Where there is D, C is not there. Where there is E, D is not there, right? They are mutually exclusive. What about the thread which holds them together? A is there, yes, thread is there. B is there, C is there. Right? That is anubritti of the thread everywhere. And vyavriti, and there is iterator vyavriti. If you A is there, B is not there, B is there, C is not there. That's how they are together. This is anubritti vyavriti. In that sense, this particular thing, panchakosha, is there. And therefore he's saying, Anvaya Vyatireka panchakosha vivekataha. Now let's, before we go to the commentary, you have the cause, which is the ultimate thing. The cause will be there in all its effects. Like, you have the Karana Sarira, Anandamaya Kosha, the elements will be there in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And that will be there, the element of Ananda will be there in the Manomaya Kosha, in the Pranamaya Kosha, in the Annamaya Kosha. But the Vijnanamaya Kosha is not there in the Anandamaya Kosha. The Manomaya Kosha is not there in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. That is the Annavritti, Vyavriti, that is what he's explaining. Okay. Now let's look at the commentary. And we'll go back to the Kalyana Piyusha. There's some interesting twist to it. We have 4-5 minutes. We'll just do this one. Anvaya Vyatireka Bhyam Bhakshamana Bhyam. That's what we are talking about. Panchakosha Vivekataha Panchanam Koshanam Adinam Vivekataha. When we do Viveka of the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, etc. Pratyak Atmanaha Vivechanena Prithakkaranena Yadava Panchakosha Panchakoshebhya Annamaya Dibhya. Of these 5 koshas, Manaha Prithakkaranena, when you separate, you cannot separate. Distinguish, yes. Distinction, attributing distinction is a very analytical process. Separation is physical, that you can't do. So when you distinguish the Atma from all this, Prithakkaranena Swatmanam Pratyagatmanam, Swa is Pratyak, which is intimate to you, your pure consciousness. Tataha tebhyaha, then tebhya means this panchakoshebhya, koshebhya, udritya, you kind of extract it. Buddhya, not physical. You cannot physically separate the Atma from the body, from the mind, from the intellect, no. Yeah, you can analytically see it as different. Buddhya nikrishya chidananda swarupam nishchitya. Then you go to the Upanishads at an early stage. You don't experience it. But yeah, the Shrutis, you can do Shravana, you can do Artha Nirupana, you can meditate on it. So, Nishchitya Param Brahma Purvokta Lakshanam Prapadyate Prapnoti Brahmeva Bhavati Ityarthaha. He doesn't become Brahma, but he understands it in the beginning. If you can complete the whole course and you apply it and you become that, great. But in the beginning, at least, you come to a stage where you know that you are none of the things that you seem to be trapped in or you are identifying with. Okay? So let's stop here. We're going to meet again tomorrow and we'll take it forward. So let's do the Santi mantras. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. If any questions, you can put it in the WhatsApp group that we have. Anybody who wants to have the WhatsApp address, you can send out a message here in these, and then we'll resume our satsang tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for all of you.